We're here with one of our poetry breakfast sessions. Of course, we're leaning towards women poets, and right in the middle here is Khatun. But who is Khatun? The question has come up. And, of course, Hafez is famous. Now, so we'll read about her. And there's not even much on the internet. Jahan Malek Khatun is one. Hafez is among the 2 or 3 most famous Persian poets who ever lived. Until recently, quite recently, virtually no one heard of Jahan Khatun. She had been known, locally at least, as a poet in her own lifetime. After her death, a few historians and retailers of literary anecdotes mentioned her, usually in passing, but to all intents and purposes, she disappeared from view until her complete poems in a bulky volume of over 555 pages received their first publication in 1995. To have this extraordinary poet, fascinating and often very beautiful poems emerge from 600 years of virtual oblivion seems almost miraculous. Jahan Khatun's parents married in 1324, and it seems that Jahan was their only child. We're reading from the introduction to Faces of Love. She herself married at some time between 1343 and 47.
14 centuries.
So she's 19, assuming that 1325 is the earliest she could have been born. She would have been in her early 20s, or probably her teens at the time of her marriage. Her father, Masood Shah, king of Shiraz and Fars from 1336 to 39, was murdered in 1352, soon after he had tried to get back the throne. They fought over the throne. Jahan Khatun could not have been more than 17 at the time of her father's death. So she's like a princess. She was probably a few years younger than this. Her uncle Abu Ishaq, who became king in 1343, looked after her, and she became a cherished member of his court, as we have seen. Abu Ishaq was famous for his love of poetry and his patronage of poets, including Hafez. So here he is. The uncle is a major patron of Hafez. She's a contemporary of Hafez. She could be famous for that alone. And it is very likely that he encouraged Jahan to write, despite the fact that it was at this time relatively unusual, though not unprecedented, for women to write poetry, or at least to write poetry that was circulated beyond an immediate circle of friends. One reason for this is that such an activity was thought to be immodest, and women tended not to be taught to read and write. Jahan was a notable exception. Literate from a young age, she was also clearly quite capable of deciding for herself how much modesty she needed. Yeah. She'll decide. We're going to decide what we're reading today on Browning Poetry Hour. To display. It also seems more than plausible that given Jahan's dependence on her uncle and what we can imagine would be her feelings of gratitude towards him, she took up poetry partly as a way of pleasing him, as there were few surer ways of giving Abu Ishaq pleasure than writing him a good poem. So now you got a feel for who she is. Maybe I should read a poem. The man she married was her uncle's Nadim, his bosom buddy, drinking companion and confidant. Amin Adin Jaharumi. Whether this was in any way a love match, we have no way of knowing, certainly whether or not mutual affection was involved. It will have been largely an arranged marriage, as Abu Ishaq had said. You two shall marry one another. It would have been virtually unthinkable for either of them to say in response, I'd rather not. You can't say you'd rather not. Anyways, that's very interesting, and we should probably read more. We should read more about her in this session. The great majority of Jahan Khatun's poems are love poems, and they are usually about unhappiness in love. This is standard for lyric poets of her time, and nothing can be read into it. Indeed, taking a medieval poet's poems as evidence of his or her life is an extremely risky thing to do, but one or two hints are perhaps significant. For example, as Abu Ishaq's drinking companion, Amin al-Din Jarumi, was expected to stay up all night drinking with the king. When this was what the king wished, more than once, Jahan Khatun says she doesn't like a lover who is drunk.
They
Do you
drank a
like
lot.
do you like a drunk
Maybe
lover?
that's why
I don't
they,
really like a
maybe
drunk.
that's why they forbid drinking wine after all. They
I
need
don't
to
like
drink a lot.
I don't like a drunk lover. She's got to be focused.
Certainly not.
Drunk is terrible.
Let's read the poem, okay?
Okay. Oh, I don't like my lovers drunk. All right. Let's read a poem. There's the Persian line. That's the real thing.